Welcome to International Coaching Week 2026, an initiative by the ICF Saudi Arabia chapter. Our vision is to be the leading catalyst for excellence in coaching and personal development in Saudi Arabia. We aim to empower individuals and organizations to realize their full potential and achieve sustainable growth through coaching. Our mission is to advance the art, science, and practice of professional coaching in Saudi Arabia. We do this by providing high-quality education, fostering a strong community of skilled coaches, promoting ethical standards, and creating opportunities for growth and collaboration. Here is the ICF Saudi Arabia Chapter Board, dedicated to achieving our vision and mission.
السلام عليكم. حياكم جميعا. At the International Coaching Federation, let me enlarge the screen. Welcome everyone. At the International Coaching Federation of Saudi Arabia, our work is guided by a clear vision to be the leading catalyst for excellence in coaching and personal development in Saudi Arabia, empowering individuals and organizations to realize their full potential and achieve sustainable growth through the power of coaching. Is the screen clear for everyone?
Yes.
We are committed to our mission to advance the art, science, and practice of professional coaching in Saudi Arabia by providing high-quality education, fostering strong community of skilled coaches, promoting ethical standards, and creating opportunities for growth and collaboration. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the ICF Saudi Arabia, we are honored and pleased to have you with us today. Today, I am with you, Suhad Looney, from the Saudi Chapter, Director of Knowledge and Credentials. And it is our great pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker, Ms. Dima Baltaji. She will introduce to us the inner change before outer change, how inner patterns drive leadership. I would like to introduce Dima to you. She is a globally recognized change management expert, trainer, and change leadership coach who believes that real transformation begins with people. She uses coaching to unlock the mindset and behaviors that make change adaptation possible, helping leaders move their organizations forward with clarity and confidence. A frequent speaker at global change management conferences and a trainer who has developed more than 2,000 professionals worldwide. Dima brings a deeply human approach to complex transformation. Dima is the founder of Change Experiences. She designs experience-driven, human-centric journeys that make change not only sustainable, but meaningful. We are so delighted to have you with us, Dima. Before I give you the mic, I would like to emphasize for our audience to keep your mic muted unless we ask you to contribute. Kindly, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. And don't forget to change your name on your own window so we can communicate with you and know who is attending with us today. Dima, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Saha. Let me start sharing my screen and then we're gonna just have a magnificent session, inshallah. Takes a minute, so please Bear with me for a second. Are we good to go?
Yes, very good.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just put this. Okay. So, good morning, North America. I'm speaking to you today from Dallas. Good afternoon, Europe, and good evening, Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and the rest of the Asia. And welcome, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for joining this session. Thank you, Coach Soha, for your introduction and for your support throughout this session. Well, wherever you're joining us from around the world, we're really glad that you are with us. I'm very delighted that you're joining this session with me today. I hope you are as well. What we're gonna be exploring today is something that sits at the intersection of three different disciplines. What are they? Change, leadership, and coaching. These three disciplines are not separate conversations. They are at their deepest the same conversation. So what do we expect to learn today? Some of the items that we're going to be covering, we're going to recognize what are the different layers beneath behavior, how to apply coaching competencies such as evoking awareness and cultivating trust and safety, to help leaders observe patterns rather than just reacting from them, understand and use the somatic cues as data, rewrite the internal narrative, to shift it from fear-based identity performance to authentic, grounded leadership presence. So, how can we be more present, which is all leadership is about, and reconfirming that coaching is not a soft conversation, it is a neurological intervention. Inner change begins when we realize that our behavior is only the symptom, the echo of what we do. And awareness is where the real work will start. Let's dive into this. First, let me ask you, and again, before I continue, I would like to ask you a couple of things. Next to the house rules that Coach Soha has asked, I would like you please to also, I need to see some thumbs up. I need you to write in the chat. I'm going to be asking you lots of questions, so lots of interaction. Are we good with that? Can I see some thumbs up? Coach Soha, you're going to be, my eyes, because I cannot see what's happening in the background.
You have all the thumbs up, Dima.
Perfect. Great. So we're going to be interacting a lot throughout this session. Great. So let me ask you about a very common situation that we all live. Think of a recent moment, a meeting, a conversation, a decision where you didn't show up the way you intended, where something inside took over before you could choose differently. Hold that moment. We'll come back to it. It's because that moment, it's that gap between who you want to be as a leader and how you actually showed up. This is exactly what we're here to explore today. I'm truly excited about this upcoming discussion. I hope you are ready for what's upcoming. Are you? Type in the chat or thumbs up.
Ready, ready, ready.
Perfect. And here again, I'm going to ask you a second question. So first, the first one, think about that moment. I have personally lived it. And we all live it. Sometimes we can, sometimes we cannot control it. So think about that moment and hold it. My second question to you is, and this is for coaches, for leaders, for ladies and gentlemen, whoever is attending here today, what is the most common mistake you see leaders make when they decide they want to make a change or they want to change something about how they lead? Can you please type in the chat and tell me what's that common mistake that leaders make when they decide they want to change something about how they lead? And please, Coach Soha, if you can read for us the answers.
Absolutely. I would like to start and say something. A common mistake that they don't have a clear vision.
Okay.
Islam says not preparing the culture and individuals for the change. Alicia says move without creating optimal conditions, not transparency. They're going very fast.
Yeah.
Renata, when they see the change outside themselves, Purva don't take feedback, making assumptions that everyone is on board. And Dr. Haifa says they may impose the changes.
So if we look at all these answers, what is it that we are really emphasizing on? We're looking at the outside, everything that's outside the leader, right? So this is what everybody has been, and this is the common answer because it's almost the same. It's the outside. Nobody has really digged inside of what's happening inside the person. So usually the leaders attend a leadership program, they pick up a new framework, they read a book. We know it all now. I'm digging into there. And those things have value. Okay. I'm not saying they're not good. We're not supposed to do them. No, on the contrary. But what they're really trying to change is just a behavior. And the behavior I have personally learned is the last thing to shift. It's the echo, not the source. My second question to you. What do you think about the statement? Behavior is the echo, not the source. Share with me your thoughts, please. And Coach Soham, appreciate your support again.
Behavior is the echo, not the source. What do we think of that? We're still having answers from before, so we'll wait for new answers.
Yeah.
I would think it's a redundancy. Okay, Alicia says behavior based on assumptions, mindset. Behavior is the reflection of values, emotions, inner system. It is the reflection of what goes on in your system of values and beliefs.
Okay, I love
Root
that.
cause is elsewhere and overlooked. Behavior is the reflection of our inner attitude. This is nice.
Yes.
Sarah, yes, I agree. It's not dealing with the inside. Based on how we believe unconditionally, then it lacks awareness.
So let me emphasize on what most of these answers have touched. What I found out is that leaders, they work at the surface, the behavior, you know, the visible symptom, what they can see. The behavior is the symptom. Underneath it comes an emotion. You know, it's that immediate spark. What did I feel like? You know, that emotion piece. And under the emotion is a deeper layer where the story is. And this is where the internal narrative start building up in our mind. And below that story, it's the deepest layer. It is the belief and the identity, which is the root cause. And most of you, ladies and gentlemen, have spoken to that. But have you seen the graduation from one layer to another and how we can reach the belief and the identity? Because it is at the level of the root source where the real change needs to happen. And change usually in organizations, it rarely touches that deeper layer. This is why, and when we go for we consult with organizations, those who are going through transformation, you can do. Yeah, they ask us to restructure org structure, to do a redesign for the processes, to roll out a new strategy. But 6 months down the road, the same dysfunctional dynamics are playing out. What happens? Leaders reach out back and say, transformation has failed. Why? It's because simply the inner architecture has not changed. If we only address the behavior, we're treating the echo, not the source. And while the real architect of behavior, it is the inner world. It is that deeper layer. It is those beliefs, those fears, the identity that shape how we respond. If you don't change the architect,
The
experiences,
experiences as well. Yeah.
100%. So if you don't change the architect, the structure won't hold. And we're really usually good at designing the outer change. You know, everything that's we call it in change management the hard side of the change framework, strategy. Everything is easier that we can touch, but that inner part is really far less practiced at we're not really good at creating those conditions for inner change. And yet without it, the outer change never sticks. And this is where we need the help of coaches. And this is the power of having, excuse me, coaches on board. So what does inner change look like? Okay, because I think for many leaders, it is an abstract concept. And many people come back to me and say, so Dima, I hear what you're saying, but what do I do? People need tangible things. What should I do? And this is where we start at explaining that inner change is not analysis. Analysis is the mind trying to solve the pattern, what's happening around there. Whereas we need to start at the level of creating awareness. And there is a difference here. So, awareness is stepping back far enough to see the pattern in front of me without being trapped inside. So, it's like if you're stepping out of your body and you're watching the situation in front of you and trying to decide, okay, what to do. So, instead of just reacting, you are out there, you are observing your reaction rather than being the reaction. And this is where things will shift. What do you think about that? Write in the chat, please. I'm having
Becoming
some,
more
yeah,
becoming more cognitive of your awareness.
exactly. We need to be more aware of our awareness and have more power to control that. Awareness
Yeah.
sounds easy, okay?
I'm sorry,
But
Dima.
yeah,
We have a chat here. Porva says many times reaction comes first, and you realize later. Being conscious about ourselves, reacting and awareness are twins.
okay, we're gonna reach to that point, uh, and we're gonna be talking about that specifically. So awareness sounds easy, but if you're in the middle of a stakeholder meeting that's going sideways, right? Or you are in conversation with a board member questioning your decisions, how how can you have how can you qualify awareness? It's of the hardest things that to access, right? So you're in the middle of the situation. Being able to be aware of the situation that you are in is not an easy thing to do, right? So keep in mind, to rewrite the behavior, we must descend through the layers that we just spoke about to the level of emotion, story, and finally the identity. And this is where sustainable change will live. Because as humans, our nervous systems don't know the difference between a difficult conversation and a genuine threat. The body reacts in the same way, right? So the inner patterns that have developed to keep us safe, like we grew up to be who we are today, you know, it's many decades, many years. So those patterns become activated instantly. And the mind is already telling us a story before we have even registered or understood what's happening. How many of you have lived such situations? Write in the chat.
Can you repeat the question, Dima? Situation?
So, how many of you have lived such moments where, you felt the threat and you were not able to understand how you need to react? So, you felt the threat, like you had you felt you were in the middle of a difficult conversation. Somebody was, being harsh on you, and you wanted to answer, but your reaction was faster than you choosing how to react.
I think we all did.
Exactly. 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 And me personally, I've been through that. And even, like I try to train people, to coach people, to explain to people. And I'm giving this session because primarily I do believe it is a common thing to all humans. We all go through that, and we need to practice how to be able to have the possibility to choose and not just to react. So this is why, like the leaders often react before they choose, and the body fires first, and we go sideways. And ladies and gentlemen, and dear coaches, this is we as coaches, we have a role. And we have some work to do with our people. First with ourselves and then with leaders, because it happens to every one of us. This is quite a human. We're not going to help our clients, our leaders, to create a better strategy or to communicate more effectively. We're going to help them to see the pattern that is running underneath all of that. What's the pattern? What's happening? Okay. And for the leaders who are listening today with us, who are not coaches, uh, let me please tell you that coaching is not therapy. It is not self-indulgent introspection. It is the most practical work you can do because, you know, when you can see the pattern, you are no longer have to become it. You are stepping out of it and you're seeing the pattern. This will change everything about how you lead. So the core truths we want to anchor at the end of this first part of our presentation is that the outer behavior is only the echo, the symptom, right, of the inner pattern. And that's not criticism, please. It's just an invitation so that you can get curious about what's driving the behavior before trying to change it. You need to understand the root so that you can do the right change. So let's go a layer deeper. Because what I've come to understand is that the inner patterns don't just shape the individual moments, they shape leadership identity, especially under pressure. And the story a leader will carry with him about who he wants to be. Okay? So this is gonna be how we're moving, a bit deeper after understanding what was the behavior. So leadership identity isn't just a professional self-image. Do we agree on that? What what is leadership identity? Please write in the chat.
I would say it's the purpose, the reason why we exist, whether we are leaders or not.
Mm-hmm. What is leadership identity?
How they show up, act, make decisions. Rosanna.
Exactly. Thank you. So it is a deeply psychological structure, as it said on the slide. And this is built over years, over decades of learning what earns approval, what avoids rejection, and what keeps us safe in environments of power and pressure. I've read lately an article that tells us, I'm going to take your opinion about that, please. It was saying that the people who reach the highest level of leaders are not the people who disrupt, are not the innovators. They are the people who are more compliant. What do you think about that? Do you think it's true? Look around you. Do you think that what this article was saying was true? Let me know.
In Dima, we have a very interesting answer from Fariha. She says that a leader who you want to be perceived, how you want to be perceived. I think this is very interesting.
It is indeed.
So what was your question, Dima? If you can repeat it, the voice is not quite clear.
Okay, so my question is, I've read an article that's saying that the leaders who uh, reach the highest levels in the hierarchy of the organization are the people who are more compliant rather than the people who disrupt and who are innovators and want to create a change. Do you agree with that article?
Compliant in terms of being committed and accountable.
There is a difference between compliance and commitment. I will get back to that on a later webinar. What I'm saying, compliant with what the superiors, the board members want. So there are more the people who are not there to create a disruption, who to create a real change. There are the people who say yes, we okay, we'll go with that, and they are hard workers, of course, high performers.
We have few answers, Dima. It reminds me of John Maxwell, says Rosanna. Fariha says, yes, somewhat, because you are able to fit in.
So, in my experience, there's a cultural dimension to this because what we're discussing here is something very deep. The identity stories that leaders carry and shape throughout their life, they're not just by individual experiences, but by cultural expectations of what a leader should look like, what strengths mean, what vulnerability costs, and what authority demands. Because for a leader operating across multiple cultures, this is another very important point, and us, when we are working in Saudi Arabia, I remember back in time, my first job was in King Faisal Specialist Hospital. We were 9,500 employees, 65 different nationalities. So 65 different nationalities coming with 65 different cultures. So the identity pressure becomes multiplied. The leaders need to navigate the different expectations of leadership simultaneously. Like, depending on whom I'm talking with, I need to be in a certain position, talk in a certain way, and act in a different way.
That's
And
very
this is,
interesting, Dima. And we have a very interesting answer, if I may share.
please,
Amir says that he mostly agree, but still their leadership differs based on the situation. This is interesting.
definitely, we have situational leadership, and I fully agree with you. So when we're talking about leadership identity, we're not talking about just fixed things. We're talking about dynamic, constructed story. And the question here, ladies and gentlemen, coaches, leaders, is who wrote that story? Was it written consciously? Or was it written by circumstance, by conditioning, by the environment we navigated before we had any real choice? What do you think? Who wrote that story? Do you believe that, we're conditioned in writing our stories in a way? Much of our leadership identity was not consciously chosen, unfortunately. It was shaped by the environments we navigate long before we became leaders. And today we are going to explore how to rewrite that story. And this is the real shift that changes everything. Identity is not destiny. Let's keep this in mind. Identity is not destiny. It's a story you learned, it's a story that you can rewrite. Not by forcing yourself to be different, definitely not, but by understanding what the story was protecting and asking whether you still need that protection. And here I would like to offer a reflection before I continue. Think of a leadership moment where you were on autopilot. Most of us sometimes are on autopilot. You responded automatically, right? And afterwards you thought, I that didn't come the way I wanted to project my best self. What were you protecting, ladies and gentlemen, in that moment? Because each one of us is protecting something essential. Some of us, some of us protect our sense of competence. Some of us, I would like to be seen. I cannot be seen as somebody who's not knowing. Some of us,
Ego? Ego?
definitely ego.
Renata says ego.
Definitely ego. Some of us protect the connections. I need to be liked and needed. I want people to like me. You know, sometimes you do something against your own will just for keeping that image, the perception. I need to be in control. I cannot be perceived as somebody who is uncertain. And harmony. We need to avoid conflict, no matter what. Everything look good. La vie en rose, right? For the French people. And lots of people would like to preserve and protect their image. How I appear is how I survive.
Exactly. We had that answer. Fariha says image.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that was Razana. And Fariha says authority.
Yes.
Enneagram types.
Definitely. And the list goes on and on. And the protection matrix. This is why this is some of the examples of the protection matrix. And here I would like to say something very important. Okay? None of these are weaknesses, by the way. They are intelligent adaptations. You know, we had to adapt to survive. They had us lead, achieve, and survive. Do we agree on that? But the question here is, are they still serving us? Or when they are under pressure, they are limiting us?
Good question, Dima.
And this is where the power of coaching comes in. This is a personal view, and that's why, like, you know, I'm in love with coaching because coaching is one of the most powerful interventions available to a leader in the middle of a transformation. Not because the coach is going to give him therapy or answers or, you know, have somebody to cry on his shoulder. No. But because the coaching relationship creates a psychological safety to ask the questions that the leader cannot ask themselves. I haven't thought about, right? Questions like, what identity am I defending right now? What would I do if I weren't afraid of what people think of me? Who am I when I am not performing? And ICF speaks to this specific point because it is about coaching is about cultivating trust and safety and evoking awareness as a core competencies. So what we're describing here exactly is this specific beautiful three words: evoking awareness, cultivating trust and safety.
If you
That,
can raise your voice, Dima.
yeah. So what I'm saying is that these three important words, evoking awareness, cultivating trust and safety, are what the leader needs to build within himself. We're not helping the leaders to perform better. No. We're helping them become. So the transformation is becoming, okay, more of who they want to be or who they are. And this is what I am. And those questions that we just spoke about earlier, when they are asked in the right moment, in the right relationship, it helps the leader to switch from performing an identity to inhabiting the real truth. And it will help the leader to shift more profoundly than any workshop or framework. It's a mindset shift. And when a leader makes that shift, the impact is humongous. The impact on the organization culture, it's on their teams, on their decision making, and it is a lasting one. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but everyone in the room will feel it.
Is
So
it about being authentic self? Because this is what Fariha says.
exactly. And Farih, if you remember, in the first slide, when I was talking about what are the learning objectives, we said we're moving from being the leader, helping him, from being just performing to a more authentic, grounded self. So when leaders understand their identity that they're operating from, they stop reacting from fear and start leading from awareness. And if you remember what I said, awareness was, how we're gonna get to that. So this is how. So it is when we understand who we are, we have the capacity to shift and to change. They stop performing a role and they start embodying a truth. And this is why, you know, rewriting the story is not forced positivity, not at all. It's understanding what the story was protecting and asking whether do you still need that protection? And remember, like I just said earlier, identity is not destiny. It's a learned story and it can be rewritten as much as you want till you become who you want. So let's bring all this into the terrain of something because I'm change management expert. And I do believe that the real work of leaders happens during organizational change. Why? Because the leaders are expected to act. So, and change. If there's only one condition in the whole world that activates the inner patterns more reliably than anything else in the world, it's change. It is that magical word. And what's really funny is that whenever something goes wrong, the first thing that happens in organizations, call in change management. What's that we do in change management? We do coaching, by the way. So, call in change management. They think we have a magical stick. We're gonna make everybody just change. So, in my previous years, 20 years of experience in leading change management programs around the world, I can tell you with confidence something very important. The moment you announce a restructuring, a new system, a new ERP, a strategic shift, you're not just managing a business process. You are activating the inner patterns of every single leader in that room, from top to down. Because change threatens what? The identity that is built. It threatens certainty, competence, it threatens belonging, it threatens the image, the control, the reputation, the relationships, right? And this is why I always tell people create a coalition, start moving things around. And when those things are threatened, what happens? What comes online? What do you feel? So tell me, when all these things are being threatened, what's the first reaction of leaders?
Creating a new identity, probably.
Okay, let's hear other people also.
Resistance, oppositions, fear.
Okay, we're getting there. So it's inside the leader. What is when all these um, disruptions happen? The belonging, the competence, the certainty, reputation, all these are threatened. What happens to the leader?
Defensiveness and anxiety.
You.
And
Thank you.
Dr. Haifa is asking, does this apply to all kind of changes?
Everywhere. Whenever there's a change, the first thing is not all at the same time, but one of these becomes threatened, right? So our identity becomes a little bit, there is a disruption. So the foundation of our identity is being threatened. Again, the bigger the change, the more factors become threatened, but at least one of them. And the first action is like you just mentioned, Coach Soha, defensiveness, right? So the first
Uh,
action is what the protective patterns jump in, and I become defensive, fast, automatic, and powerful. Otherwise, that's it. I jump. This jumping in. I need to answer. I need to do something. This is defensive behavior, attitude. and behavior. So what makes it particularly complex and what makes it so important in a change environment that leaders need to recognize? Okay, what do they need to understand and what do they need to recognize what in this situation where the threats are there? The first thing they feel, there is
Raise your
frustration.
voice, Dima.
So what they
Uh,
feel, okay, is that first thing they feel there is frustration, or there is a resistance from their team, or there is a problem with the strategy. It's always outside of them. It's never them, right? So the problem, it's the people. It's the strategy not working. The process is frustrating. Too many signatures. The ERP is not working well. So they have located the issue outside of them, whereas actually a significant part of what's driving their experience is what? It's themselves. It's in their mind. It's in their heart. It's their reaction. So it's from inside out. So this is one of the most important slides during this session.
Dima, if I may make a comment,
Yes.
the chat is hyper. They are asking questions and answer each other. Like, why is this situation making me feel the way I do? And another person is answering where the issue are in the backyard.
Uh-huh.
So thank you for this hyper engagement.
And my answers are in this slide. Excuse me, are in this slide. Exactly, are in this slide. So people are really being following up very well. Thank you. Thank you for this great engagement, ladies and gentlemen, coaches, leaders, everybody on board. So let's slow down for a second here and let me ask you another situation. Let's imagine you are a leader and you received unexpected pushback on a change initiative that you are leading, you believe in, you're championing. Okay? What happens? What's the first thing that happens? The first thing that
Defensive,
really, huh?
defensive mechanism.
Yeah. So what happens? What's the first thing that really happens? And this is, by the way, this is science. So the first thing is a sensation. It's a physical sensation. It's a somatic sensation. Tightening, heat, or a drop. Okay? Post that, the emotion builds up of a frustration, of defensiveness, of shame, of anger. Okay, you name it. And immediately post that, the story it's built in the mind. They don't trust me. They're resisting because they don't understand. I need to push farther. I keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And you know what? Keep doing the same thing will never resolve the problem. I need to prove to them that this will work. Isn't that true? Please share in the chat. Do you believe this happens or no? This is the process. And from that story, that inner narrative, the behavior, some leaders will speed up. Some will go into overdrive. Others will try to control. Others will try to withdraw. Feeling bad, and they don't have the power nor the energy to keep fighting. Others become less visible. Others lose their voice, and some go rigid. Some become autocratic. It reminds me of some time, like someone told me, you know what, Dima, it's my way or the highway. I'm like, wow, that's cool. So what this leads to?
We are following Dima. We are with you.
Yeah, good. So what does this leads to? All this, okay, what's happening is just we need to understand that none of these choices were conscious in the moment. They were automatic. They are the pattern running and not the leader choosing. And can you imagine that this reflex happens in milliseconds? Milliseconds from the somatic sensation to the emotion to the story to the reflection. Milliseconds. That's why I found this topic very important, because it really affects each one of us. And I would like to appreciate someone who is very, someone I really appreciate a lot, and I highly value, who, when I reacted in a strong way, that person decided, he followed that specific reflex and decided not to react. And he waited for the second day to rewrite his message, because he chose, and this is a leadership. So, what do we need to do in this situation? That's millisecond thing. And this is the power. This is the power of the biggest and most important word that comes in the word, not only in coaching. It's the word pause. Because we need, us as coaches, to help leaders develop what we
Raise
call
your voice, team.
we need to help the leaders to develop what we call the inner change readiness. And how do we help the leaders build their inner change readiness? We need them to understand and to build the capacity to notice when a pattern has been activated, right? And it's at the level of what? Of the somatic sensation. And when he starts feeling this tightening or heat or drop, to pause. And pause, at that pausing for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, to make a conscious choice rather than automatic one. It's that pause, that micro space between the trigger and the reaction. This is where leadership actually lives. It's where you shift from reacting to choosing, from defending to leading, from your pattern to your presence. And I would like to say that this pause reminds me of some decades ago. I used to give lots of communication courses. And one of my courses was called Bite Your Tongue. Why did we say bite your tongue? So that, you can control yourself before you speak up. Because when something is out, you cannot retrieve it back. And this is the power of the pause. So, dear coaches and ladies, gentlemen, and leaders, this pause, it is directly developed through coaching. It's one of those most powerful, like I just said, things that help our leaders to recreate a trigger moment, okay, inside the coaching conversation that's happening. Start asking them those type of questions. What was happening in your body just before you reacted? What emotions were underneath that behavior? What would have been possible if you had paused for 3 seconds? That kind of inquiry over time will rewrite how a leader will respond under pressure. So, and this is neuroscience. The neuroscience backs this up, because a reflective practice builds a new neural pathway. So, coaching is not a soft conversation, it's a neurological intervention. And for the leaders in the room, it's like they need to understand that investing in coaching during a transformation is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's a strategic decision. The return on investment is not just on individual performance, it's in the quality of the entire change culture that the leader will create to drive engagement, to create commitment, not compliance. And there's a difference between commitment and compliance, ladies and gentlemen. And to ensure successful change adoption. And they're gonna be the best leaders because they have led powerfully the organization towards success. So if we're gonna
Wonderful
be
tools,
practical,
Dima. If I may remind you, we have 9 minutes left.
okay, I'm almost done. So practically speaking, a few things make a real difference in developing the inner capacity. First of all, we need to do what? To read our body early warnings, the somatic data. The body, as we said, knows first. The heat, the drop, the data, they are not obstacles. We know them. We can feel them. This is data, and that will help us, okay, and control our reaction, our behavior. So, and usually this somatic awareness is the most underused leadership instrument, and it is there. We own it. Second, we need to name that pattern after the fact, not inside, like, step out, try another moment, try to reflect around it. Okay? What happened in there? What was activated? Why was it activated? What story was I telling? That repetition will build what? The muscle of self-observation. This is very important. And then finally, what you'll able to do then? You'll be able to rewrite the story because you're not suppressing, you're not overwriting, not at all. You are genuinely interrogating, asking yourself. So is it actually true? What else could I have done differently if I was in a different setup? What would I have said if I were leading from my wisest self rather than from my most threatened self? And all these, ladies and gentlemen, they are not soft skills at all. These are the survival skills for leaders who are navigating change in a world that is moving very fast, with more ambiguity, with more stakeholder pressure, with more complexity. The leaders who will strive, are not the ones with the most sophisticated framework. AI is doing the technical work. And today I say we're not in the era of AI. We are in the era of humans, leadership, human focused leaders. Because this is the power that will make these leaders with the most sophisticated inner capacity will be able to be best leaders. And this is why coaching is not a soft conversation. It's a neurological intervention. Please reflect on that. Capacity, this inner change is what makes the outer change sustainable. It's what will allow the leaders to lead transformation with more presence rather than panic, with more clarity rather than control, and with more humanity rather than performance. And I would like to close with this reflection. Inner change is not a destination, it's a practice, the daily act of noticing, pausing, choosing differently, even once, even imperfectly. To sum up everything we've been talking about throughout this hour, I would like to mention a few takeaways. So, behavior is only the echo. Real transformation happens when the leaders and the coaches work at the deeper layer, right? At the emotion, the story, the identity. The body is data. Do not overlook it because it signals what leaders need to interrupt before they become reactive. Identity can be rewritten every single time so that we can move from just being performing, having a performing role, to inhibiting a truth, our truth, what we'd like to be. And the pause, my favorite word in the whole world. This pause is where leadership lives. That micro space between trigger and reaction. And this is what we need to concentrate on. And finally, coaching is a neurological intervention, as we've been mentioning over the past 10 minutes. Through reflective practice, evoking awareness, and cultivating trust and safety, coaching rewires responses and builds the inner capacity.
Definitely, Dima, totally agree. Thank you
Now we're
so
gonna,
much for
yeah,
so powerful presentation.
yeah. I just need to
Um,
mention, I need to say one last sentence. Okay. I would like you now, we'll open the floor for questions, but this is my question for you now. As you shape your question, I invite you to consider what inner pattern showed up for you today as you listened. That might be the most important question of all, of all, so that you control the story and not the story controls you. Thank you, ladies
Please
and gentlemen. Thank you.
open the mic and share with us in one, two words. And don't forget to take the survey, please. Thank you, Dima. Thank you so much.
I'll stop sharing now and I'm ready to answer.
The question was, Dima, what was it? What is your takeaway?
My takeaway was like uh what what pattern showed up for you today? What happens with you today so that you can control the story and not the story controls you?
We have
What's the shift inside of your mind today?
wonderful answers here. If I may read,
Please.
Afnan says that leadership maturity is presence under resistance, inner change, readiness is what makes that presence possible. And pause always to keep your story written and evolving. This is my takeaway. Thanks, Dima.
Okay.
A gentle reminder, please. Our next session is for Coach Abdullah Al-Ghamdi today at 8:30. If you have any questions, you have 1 minute. Please feel free to ask your questions.
By the way, please find me on LinkedIn. I'm part of you on the ICF Saudi chapter. Reach out and like if you have any, if you'd like to ask a personal question, we can take it offline. I'm here to help and to serve because this is part of what we do, right? And this is how we grow our community. This is how we grow a better world. It's being at service of each other.
And I would like to thank everyone for the rich, rich engagement. It wouldn't be success without your engagement. They say, brilliant, Dima. Thanks for a brief yet rich webinar. Thanks, coaches, Dima and Soha. You're welcome. Best regards. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
all of you. We still have 1 minute. Please feel free if you have any questions. Open the mic.
Yeah, please open the mic. Yeah, it's about time that I hear you guys, ladies and gentlemen, not only guys. Like we need to. Who
Pose
would like to
is powerful, but not
speak
now,
up?
really. In Arabic, we says الصمت أبلغ الكلام. Silence is a powerful talk.
True, true. I think we've covered a lot. And throughout the engagement, people have really spoken about their thoughts, their minds, and those items that I'm pretty sure if because it's not only that we see this with our leaders, it is us. Always start with yourself because we are leaders, and in everything we do, it is when we start working, and we can do better job with others when we work on ourselves. And I'd like to thank ICF chapter, Saudi chapter, for having me on board, for your trust. And thank you, Coach Soha. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. You rock. Thank you. Without you, definitely this engagement, this session would have not been a success. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dima. It's a pleasure having you today, and a wonderful topic, no doubt. Thanks, everyone. And you're ready to close the session?
Yes, I'm
Thank
ready.
you. Thank you.